Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Aries. If Aries is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so, Aries, tonight our card is the adjustment card. And we know this card basically is just telling us, hey, look, the universe is going to do what the universe is going to do, right? If there's some kind of karmic debt that needs to be balanced, guess who's showing up to do it? Yeah, the universe. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to see what these tea leaves have to say. And so if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And if you want to hit the like button or leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. So immediately, the first thing I saw, we have... yeah, look at that, a mailbox. You have some kind of communication coming your way. You've got mail, right? Remember that movie from like forever ago? I remember when that movie came out, there was not a lot of stuff in movies about the internet or being online. And I felt so represented. I was like a maybe I was a teenager. I was maybe like 13. I don't know. But I was fully online by then. And I remember thinking like, no, barely anybody in my life is on the internet. So this is cool. Now, it does seem that we also have a fish kind of swimming over this way. Okay, you can kind of see this is the long body and the mouth there. And the fish represents money. Okay, so I wonder if this communication is going to have to do with receiving some money. Hopefully so, right? You have some good news. Maybe picking up some work or extra shifts or some kind of investment you made, or I don't know, something coming through though. And it feels a little unexpected. Now we have an umbrella, we have a person reaching for it. We also have, and the umbrella's right there. We have the person right here reaching for it. We also have this house. I keep looking at this house right here. You can see the door, kind of the house right there. Now, up here, it looks like we have... okay, so this is just getting spliced together. I don't know what I did. I pressed something on accident, and anyways, I had to put the two videos together. So we're right here. I was trying to figure out my equipment, which is always like takes some time. But you won't see that part, obviously. So we have the person with the umbrella. We have the house. And I'm looking at this up here. It reminds me of a person there's a snake. There's a person here. You can see the head. Their arm is lifted. And then we see the moon. Okay. So we've had this kind of message probably coming through, has to do with your pursuit of making resources, making money, okay? Something paying off finally, right? I think there has also been quite a lot of attention on your household. Okay. And I think it really is maybe about the actual house, the apartment, the trailer, whatever, what are those called? Like the conversion vans, or maybe you're like somebody who does that van life type of stuff. My sister's really into that stuff. So I always try to remember, there are also people that live in places like, yeah, their car or their van or, you know, whatever. Now, I feel like there hasn't been anything wrong per se, but because of the state of the world, really, and I think that's a lot of us, we're thinking about what are these next years going to be like? Okay. And I'm not going to get into a discussion about any of that. I'm not going to, you know, this isn't the place and I'm not the person because listen, I'm not qualified to talk about much of anything. So I don't know, but I do know that the weather patterns, the economy, you know, just everything else surrounding these things, uncertain, right? And yes, of course, we know life is uncertain. Nothing, even if we fully believe we know it, we understand it, we have predicted it, it feels like this is following a pattern that has never, there's been no deviance from, and yet sometimes it doesn't go the way we think it's going to go, right? So I see you really, I don't know if it's concerned exactly so much as preparing, okay? I see you really wanting to put some time and effort into making sure where you live, what you live in, is going to hold up, right? And maybe it is weather, maybe it is economy, maybe it's just that, you know, well, this is like myself, my husband and I, we talk about this constantly, staying home more, right? To be able to save some money, building a little universe for yourself so that, yeah, of course you want to go out in the world here and there and do your things, go to work, run the kids around, you know, do whatever, but to have a place that you're excited to come home to. You look forward to it. I don't care if it's a studio apartment on the 4th floor of like a huge building and it's loud and there's a lot of people and whatever, and you set up your little, your bed situation, you have your TV or computer or whatever, and your little, kitchen and all that. Listen, I loved living in a studio apartment. I loved it. So I'm even like, there's little heart eyes as I'm thinking about this. I'm just like, yeah, I miss having a studio apartment. But yeah, and then you get off work and you're so excited. I get to go home. Hopefully I can take a nice hot shower. I can get into bed. I can watch my stories on TV, cuddle up with the cat. Whatever it is. But I think that you're really focused on making sure that things are as secure as they can be. Okay? So if that is like you need to do some repairs, or maybe it's like, okay, well, the place that I live in, it's getting too expensive. Maybe I need to start looking in a different area. Or, the kids are grown and now I have this house and there's so many rooms and it's expensive to keep warm during the winter and cold during the summer. And, it's just so much work. And now, it's a good time maybe to look and see. Maybe we can downsize. Maybe I can find somewhere like, that I've always dreamt of being. Finding a little community or something. And so beginning to really plan for those days that can get pretty rainy. And that's what it is, planning for our rainy days. Okay. Now we have the person who's reaching up here. Okay. And it looks like the moon. We also have the snake falling close behind. So I almost feel like this is like such a symbol of facts, knowledge, right? The snake being the bearer of of information. The person who is yearning for the moon represents illusion, fantasy, dreaminess, creativity, escape, whatever. And so I feel like you're in a place where sometimes this can feel like a lot, right? It can feel like a lot worrying about the future, worrying about how things are right now. And is this going to hold up in 5, 10, 15 years? Who can really say anymore? I don't know, but I feel like for you at times, yeah, it can be like you have maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking it's like maybe some kind of fanhood. Maybe you are somebody that has like a certain franchise, or I don't know, like you're like a Disney adult or whatever, or really into a certain video game, or you're into like, I have a really good friend that's into wrestling. We're over 40, right? And it's wonderful. I think it's great that, people have things that they love, especially if it's stuff that you've loved for a long time, right? Since you were a kid. But I think at times you have to remind yourself that even if the world is scary and like facing the facts of things can be very scary, nerve-wracking, frustrating, all of the stuff, we have to balance these two worlds that we live in, right? Now, I have people in my life that always are like super surprised when I tell them, or when they find out somehow, that I watch things like Vanderpump Rules, or I used to watch some of the Housewives franchises, but not really anymore. But, I don't know. I consider myself a pretty spiritual person, a pretty grounded person, somebody who's interested in, it's not about the betterment of the collective. To me, it's about people finding ease in life and finding a way towards inspiration and creativity and meaning, just finding meaning, right? And so then, I have this whole vibe going on, and then I'm like over here watching, the other thing I really love to watch is like Baddies. I know. If you know what that is, I know. A Bad Girls Club. And to me, it makes sense. We have to balance things out. I could be reading Your Chief at one moment and then say, all right, let's put away the books for tonight. I'm going to, finish out my evening watching some garbagey stuff. And it balances out my life. I don't know what to say besides that. And I'm not going to defend it. I have to defend it to my husband enough. He's like, but with him, and I'm going to out my husband here a little bit, we like to watch things like Love After Lockup and 60 Days In. So he likes garbage TV too. So you go over to Dove and Serpent Tarot and you tell my husband Paul over there, I know that you watch reality TV, sir. So anyways, I do. I think that there's really this calling to be in a place where, there's a little more balance maybe. Okay. But do not abandon the things that make you feel something, whatever it is. If you love, I don't know. There's so much fandom, right? I'm on Tumblr a lot, so I see a lot of this really niche fandom. And I think it's wonderful, right? That people have these things. But, at the same time, we have to also live in other parts of our life, right? And so maybe just kind of looking at whatever you have been spending your time doing and making sure that if it's all business all the time, giving yourself a little bit of a reprieve so you can indulge in some of that, garbage TV or books or novels, or maybe you like to go play golf or, whatever it is. Let yourself go do some of that stuff. Now, if you're living in that realm all the time, then maybe you got to pump the brakes a little bit, right? And focus on getting some of the business stuff in order, okay? And you will feel better, right? You'll feel better. The biggest hack I ever learned in my life about, or maybe it's not even a hack, it's just like a key to life, I think, is so much of my youth, I would procrastinate. I have ADHD and it is diagnosed. So I just didn't really learn how to navigate my mind. I wanted to do all these things. I couldn't always figure out how to actually go through the process of it, right? Like doing my homework and studying. And it was a lot of work for me to really apply myself. Okay. So I would procrastinate a lot, and I would live in the anxiety, the terror of knowing I just didn't do these things. I was not aloof enough to just not care. I cared a lot, and I still didn't do it, but I still cared a lot. Right. So then as I got older, I realized, instead of just succumbing to that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this done. I just give up. Whatever. I'm just going to change my name and move to a different country. So my math teacher doesn't ever find out I didn't do all my homework or, whatever. Just getting in gear, right? Like you're going to have people over. You haven't cleaned the house yet. You're procrastinating. You're watching TV. You're getting anxiety. They're going to think I'm such a slob, whatever. I could never get all of this cleaned up in time. Instead of just sitting in that feeling, right? Starting to get up and doing things, getting it moving, getting yourself moving, right? Being proactive. And I know this sounds really silly and simple, but I will tell you what, there are a lot of people in this world that don't know how to kind of break through that anxiety, right? And you get into a state of freezing. You just don't do anything. But when you can take that power and start to be proactive, you might not get it all done, but you got something done. And you don't feel as terrible, right? You've alleviated some of that stress because you've put yourself into motion. And we have the person riding up here, right? And to me, that totally says you are getting it in gear, right? You will find your balance and you'll continue to move forward. You're not going to just get paralyzed in feeling like you missed your chance, or it's never going to pay off, or it's never going to go the way that I wanted to. I don't have enough time or resources to get all this finished, so I'm not going to do any of it. No. I see you putting your heart into things. I see you fulfilling your responsibilities, and ultimately, it's not even about like what you get done, what you produce, whatever. It's the fact that your confidence and your sense of self is becoming stronger because you are doing something. Okay? Now, let's take a look here. So we have a hook. We have a hook, we have a fish. We have what are those called? A sai, I think. It's which one had it? Raphael, I think, the Ninja Turtle. He had that. It was like like this. If you, that doesn't look like, but it was like a metal thing with a little handle, and I don't know, it's like, it looks like something you pick meat up with when you're grilling or cooking. So I feel like this is, feel like this is somebody that you know from your childhood, and it feels like it's a masculine person. They seem to be a little bit older than you. I almost wonder if this is like your older brother's friend or older sibling's friend, or like a kid from the neighborhood, but they were like maybe like a few, like 5 years older or something. So they felt much older, right? Like they knew everything about the world, and yet they're, you know, they're like a few years older than you. And for some reason, I feel like there is some kind of meeting of, I don't know, maybe it's like you run into each other somewhere. You haven't seen each other for many years probably, and I almost wonder if they have like a job opportunity or something. Like you start talking and you realize that you have some common interests, or you work in the same industry or something. But I feel like this is going to be somebody that's important for you to network with, to build a relationship with, as far as business or, you know, within work. And I think it can end up leading to something that will be more lucrative for you. That's why we have that fishing pole. So that's something to look out for, okay? Look for that person. They're probably at the grocery store. Go hang out at the grocery store. Now, we're just going to do 3 lucky numbers, and I'm just going to go ahead. All right, we have 66, 70, 66, 70, right there. 90, 66, 70, and 90. Sounds pretty good. All right, and we'll finish off with our inner child oracle cards. And this will just kind of punctuate the reading. And I'm going to flip through. I'm going to stop where it feels right. 24. Let love guide you. Choose to see the good in the world today. Choose to see the good in the world today. Listen, you're an Aries. You always see the good. Here's the thing is that you can see the awful in people too, but you can still find reasons to appreciate people. Even if they do seem like, you know, maybe they're not terrible people, but, you know, not necessarily what you would call a stellar personality or whatever. But you find goodness in people, and you treat people like they're humans, no matter what. You know, you are somebody who is very, I want to say, it's not inviting, but it's like you're inclusive, right? You're inclusive. You treat most people the same, right? You're not going to treat everybody like you treat your daughter or something. But yeah, I think for the most part, you definitely, and mindfully, but also I think it just is kind of how you've always been. You just treat people equally. And I think that that's like one of your superpowers, is it just really comes from a true place. And that's really, I love that. So anyways, Aries, I love you. Take care of yourself. If you want to leave a comment, subscribe, Yeah, definitely do that. I read all the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And it is free to subscribe. Okay. All right. I love you. Take care of yourself. We're going to talk in just a few days. Good night. Good night. Good night.